I'd like to add something to what I've said in my last uh, Crypto 101 video. Um, I compared crypto to Nigerian scams and a lot of your pyramid scams, and just scams in general. I mean, I don't think it allows me to say some scams don't qualify. And the point I'm trying to get to is that when you, when you know somebody who's involved in a Nigerian scam, and they have a boyfriend online that they're talking to over the phone or through an app, and it starts out innocent, as they all do, and then they send money. They don't send thousands; they send maybe 100 or 200. They ask for an iPhone or they ask for an iPad so they can communicate better with you, you know. And that's just establishing trust. That's just establishing a money link, how we're going to transfer money, because it's going to grow from an iPad to, and because the sky's the limit. So it just establishes if you're willing, if you buy the iPad, then you're willing. And, like the one thing with Nigerian scams is the letters and stuff that they would send to your email to get you to contact them and start up these conversations with these scammers is they would have extremely bad spelling, bad grammar. I mean, you could tell where they wanted you to think they're from a third world country. English is not their first language and stuff like that. And they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose. Because the people that say, oh, so what if you can't spell Nigeria? You know, those are the people that are going to buy the iPads. And those are the people, the same with the crypto, same with the cults, with the religious cult scams and all that. You could scream to them in their face, you are being ripped off. You are sending money to God knows where. And you're never going to see it again. And this guy on the phone or this guy on the app, you're never, ever going to meet him. And once you're broke, he'll stop calling and all that. You can swear to him. You can show him evidence. It won't matter. They will, in the end, still send money, even if you tell them not to. And they will do it because they're locked in and they can't get out. And to get out, for one, is embarrassing because they have to admit that they were scammed. They have to admit they fell in love with a scammer on the phone. They have to admit that they lost a lot of money. My mother was scammed by one of these guys, a couple of them actually, not just one. Because once your number gets in their system, they tag team you. They come at you from different angles, and they'll tell you, don't listen to him. He's a scam artist, but I'm not. Stuff like that. And I actually drove from New York to Ohio, an Ohio address. This guy from Nigeria gave my mother an Ohio address, and I went with her because I didn't want to go by herself. So I just was a passenger in the car. And we went from New York all the way to Ohio. It was an overnight trip there and back. And we went there and we went to this address. And I didn't let my mother go to the front door. I went to the front door. And I knocked on the front door. And this little old lady answers the door. And I gave her a few names. And she said, no, I don't know who you're talking about. And she did have a 17-year-old grandson or somebody living in the house with her. And my spidey sense went off a little bit on that one. I don't know if he had been involved. And anyway, it turned out to be a bunch of bull. And we drove all the way back to New York. And she still talked to him. She yelled at him for giving her a false address. it's just, the, it was amazing. It was very shocking at what degree, you know, and if somebody did this to you in the supermarket aisle, you know, you probably push your card into them. But they do it over the phone, and they can do whatever they want. They have your heart, and they will smash it into pieces, and there's nothing you can do. Now, the same thing with the crypto. You can tell these crypto people that are into crypto that they're going to get ripped off, that the floor is going to fall out from underneath them. You know, they want to say, well, Johnny made $1 million doing this. Yeah. How much did he lose? They don't know that number, you know? And like I said, it's not secure. And when the floor does fall out from underneath it, everybody's going down. And, you know, if you went from 20,000 to 100,000 to 500,000 to $1 million, you know, when the floor goes down, the million is zero. There's I've heard a lot of scams where they set up dummy crypto websites. You know, they look like a crypto website. They act like a crypto website. You put your money in, and it doesn't disappear. You keep putting more money in because if you watch it, the money goes up. You know, fictitiously. You know, you think it went up, and it never went up. But they have fake numbers on the screen that they're showing you that it's going up, and they'll tell you, you know, put more in, and you'll get a friend that you'll meet at the supermarket who will say, "Oh, I'm into this big thing with crypto. I made a lot of money, made millions of dollars on this crypto. You need to get in on it, you know, and use your 401k and all that stuff, you know." So this is how you get ringed into it, you know, from a false friend or a friend who's also hooked in and being scammed. And one thing that scam victims like the most is other victims, you know, because they don't want to feel alone. And what they do is when you find out they're a scam, or they find that you want your money out, you know, you think, oh, I've had it. I made $1 million. I'm happy. I want my million. I'll go somewhere else. Then they say, well, you have to pay a $200,000-$300,000 fee to get your money out, you know. And it might not even be that high. It might even be 50,000, whatever it is. It's a big fee. It's not $5. It's a big fee to get your money out. You got to pay taxes. You know, they'll tell you got to pay taxes and all this crapola. So you give them the money. You give them 50,000 or 200,000. That adds to all the money you've given them so far, and then they go ghost on you. You can't contact them. You know, they'll give you excuses why you can't get the money. And they're in like Laos, Myanmar, you know, Cambodia, Thailand. You're not going to call 911 and get your money back. You know, the money's gone. Been gone since you sent it. They've just been playing you with the website, making you think you're making money and everything's good. So you would add money to it. Same as what Madoff did to his victims. He sent them false returns. They thought they were making 20% on their money. And if you're making 20% on your money, you'd be a fool to take it out. And that's what he did. He kept everybody in by making them think they were making 20% of their money, and they weren't making a dime. Madoff was spending the money and printing false invoices. And you know, that's what the cryptos guys do in Thailand. You know, they send, but they have a website. I don't think Madoff had a website, but he's old school. But the new schools, they have and they kidnap people to work the phones, to work you, to get you to put more money in. And the kidnapped people have to earn their freedom, which they never do. They're never free, and they never get out. And they're tortured, they're beat up. It's a horrible scene. And, it's just, but with crypto, the people that get involved in it think they're going to make a lot of money, They think they're on the ground floor of cutting edge. And, a lot of this is kids. A lot of this is 20-year-olds and 18-year-olds that have no money, and maybe they're using mom and dad's money. Maybe they got a settlement when they were young, and they get it at 18, and they dump it in crypto, think they're going to triple it, And they're very susceptible to scams and get-rich-quick schemes. Why go to work for 2 days when I can make $100 in 5 minutes? I don't have to go to work if I'm doing that, And this is what the whole Generation Z people are doing. That's why they're putting casinos up in every state and every town, because they know those kids are out there and they're taking advantage of them. They're raping them blind. And when they get done, you know what they do? They say, it's your fault. You're the one who went to the casino. The casino didn't tell you to put $100 on the table that you didn't have, or 1,000, or whatever it is. They blame you. Just like the drug dealers, they blame you. You're the addict. You're the one that's at fault. It's not that I'm standing here every night handing you stuff, taking your money, taking your last dime, but it's your fault. And to a degree, they're not wrong. And that's what they use. That's what they use against you. But it's just very difficult. Like DARE, the program they had when you were 10 years old, the cops came to your school to teach you about drugs and not to do drugs. And they showed you drugs. They showed you samples of drugs. And they said, don't do this. And what did most of the kids that heard that class, or after that class was over, they called up their friend and said, where can I get this? And that was the whole program. That was the whole reason for the program, which was to get more people hooked, to increase the pool of people that were buying drugs. And what better age to start but 10 years old, And if they didn't do it at 10, they did it at 13, And maybe all of them didn't walk out of that 10-year-old class and do what I just said, but one or two, and then with peer pressure and, oh, look what my friend did, or my friend got a bag, or my friend smoked a joint, and all these things, it adds up, and little by little, like baby steps, one joint at a time, and all of a sudden you're a crackhead. And then it's one crackhead at a time. So it's all a scam. It's a scam played by the cops on you and the government that promoted the DARE program. And Nancy Reagan, with her say no to drugs, it was really saying everybody say yes to drugs. Most people didn't know what drugs were. And they were like, say yes to drugs. She promoted it to the kids. So don't believe what you hear. And remember, it's not what they do, it's what they don't do.